today is love and compassion. Living in the modern world with love and compassion. Okay, those are the first two of the four Brahma Viharas, the four immeasurables. And it's curious, living in the modern world, is it different than living in the ancient world? Yeah. His Holiness Dalai Lama is always saying sentient beings have the same afflictions. You know, it isn't like now, however many years after the Buddha, people have more afflictions than they had then. The afflictions are the same. Maybe the way they manifest or what the objects of our afflictions are. You know, in the Buddha's time, you certainly couldn't get attached to your phone. Now you're inseparable from it. Yeah. If you ask somebody at the Buddha's time, you know, do you want a smartphone? They would have looked at you like, are you nuts? What would I do with that? You know? And now it's like it's glued to your hand forever and ever. In fact, maybe when babies are born, there's a smartphone attached to their hand, and as they grow, their phone grows. Yeah, that's how inseparable people are from it. Yeah. So different objects of attachment, but attachment is the same. Mm-hmm. The way attachment works. Yeah. So similarly, the way anger works, it's the same. Whether you were angry at your water buffalo because they trampled the crops, or you're angry when you're stuck in a traffic jam because you really wish they would work on the road at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's more convenient for you. Right? Yeah, shouldn't they do that? Yeah. Why don't they work at 2 o'clock in the morning when I don't have to be on the road? Okay. The self-centered thought is the same from at the Buddhist time and now. You know, how we think primarily of ourselves. What we want, what we feel, what we deserve, and so on. Yeah, so, but, you know, the specific thoughts may be different than at the Buddhist time, but that factor of the mind, the same. Okay, so sometimes I hear people, at least in my country, in the US, saying, oh, Buddhism needs to be modernized. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't agree with that. What are you going to modernize? When what the Buddha taught applies to our minds now, just as it applied to the minds of the people at his time, what in the world do we need to modernize? You know? And the people who say this, I wonder if they think that they're wiser than the Buddha, so they can develop a new and better path to awakening. Yeah, so that people who are not Buddhas are now going to modernize what the Buddha taught and teach a new, better, improved path to awakening that is easier and quicker and cheaper, and you just get the app for $99.99 while it's on sale, and by next Tuesday, enlightenment. So you got that off your bucket list, finished and done with. Now you can go have fun. Yeah? What are people thinking? Yeah. So I don't think we can modernize the path or modernize the Buddha's description of our mental afflictions, what we need to abandon, what we need to practice. But like I said, the objects that these things are triggered by are different, And they were different even at the Buddha's time between one country and another. Well, they didn't have countries then. Between one republic and another, between one kingdom and another. Yeah, in some kingdoms, now there's one precept that we monastics have about not using wool in a, or tulafas, something, some stuffing material inside a cushion or a blanket, because at the time when the Buddha made that, at that place, that material was expensive, and the Buddha didn't want his monastics getting expensive things and being arrogant because of it. So he said, you cannot make your seats and mattresses out of this particular material. But in another country, later on, there was or another area, another monastic said, oh, but that material, you said don't make cushions out of that material here, because it's expensive, but where we are right now, it's cheap. Yeah, because we're the place that produces it, and what they make their cushions out of where we live is expensive. So then the Buddha, modernized. Not modernized. He added on to the original precept. Okay, in here, in this place, you can't use this material. In this place, you can't use another material. Okay, so again, the objects that people were attached to depended on a place, and the culture and the economy and so on of the place. But the way the mind works and gets attached to things or gets upset about things, that way is universal, yeah? And you can see how it even applies to animals and insects, yeah? Like, nobody likes to feel pain. So if you have a cockroach, yeah, and yeah, what do cockroaches do when you turn on the light? They run away. Why? They're afraid. They're afraid of getting hurt. So just like us, except we run away from the cockroaches, and they run away from us. But everybody's suffering from fear. Yeah. And what is fear based on? Attachment to one's own body. So the cockroach is attached to his body, we're attached to our body. Different objects, the way the affliction works is the same. Okay, are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? And so when the Buddha then talked about all sentient beings wanting happiness and freedom from suffering, yeah, he was talking about everybody. Yeah, it isn't just certain people who want happiness and freedom from suffering, but others don't. Okay, and it isn't that we human beings deserve happiness more than the ants in the kitchen deserve happiness. Except we feel, well, wait a minute, I'm a human being. Human beings are better than ants. We can do so many things that ants can't. Like, what can we human beings do? We can bomb whole countries out of existence and kill millions of people with one bomb, never mind millions of ants, millions of cockroaches, millions of every living being. That's how smart we human beings are. Yeah? You think human beings are smarter than ants? Sometimes. You do? They didn't invent atomic bombs. Yeah, the ants didn't invent atomic bombs. They didn't bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Yeah, the ants aren't, didn't make the bombs that Russia is throwing on Ukraine and the drones that Ukraine is throwing back on Russia. So my point is, human beings have human intelligence, which is quite special. But we don't always use our intelligence wisely. Why? Because of the afflictions. We're greedy. We get angry. We hold grudges. We want revenge. Yeah. So, one ant colony may fight another ant colony. Yeah. But they usually have to have some reason, substantial reason. Russia invaded Ukraine. Ukraine didn't do anything to Russia. Russia just decided it wanted more territory. Yeah. So human intelligence is very special, and we need to use it and respect it and use it for something worthwhile, not use it to make bigger and better bombs. Not use it to develop better military strategies so we can kill more people. Use it to, create a more equal society. Use it to give poor children a better education. Yeah. So we need to respect our human intelligence and really check up how we use it and not just think, oh, this looks good, I want it. Yeah. Okay. Or this person insulted me. I was quite surprised. The very first Dharma course I went to, yeah, I didn't know anything about Buddhism, nothing. In fact, -3, -10, I knew nothing, except how to spell the word Buddhism. But, one of the things the teacher said there, which really woke me up, is he said that human beings in many ways are like dogs. Yeah. When the dog sees, how many of you have dogs, pet dogs? Oh, come on, it's more than 2 of you. I see lots of people out walking with dogs. How many people have dogs? Okay, yeah. You love your dogs, right? Yeah. When your dogs see you, what do? Yeah, they wag their tail. They are so happy to see you. Yeah, why are they happy to see you? Well, you feed them and you give them love. You don't just give them food and walk away. You give them love. You pet them. You take them for walks. They adore you. Yeah. When somebody who's a stranger comes into your house, what does your dog do? He starts barking. Yeah, because it's a stranger, and a stranger might be dangerous. Yeah. So my teacher, when he was talking about dogs, he said, human beings are the same. Somebody's nice to us, so we don't have a tail to wag, but we like them. Yeah. Somebody's a stranger, they look different from us. We don't bark like the dog, but we go like, man, who is this person? We're suspicious. He said, there's not such a big difference between human beings and dogs. And I was really shocked, yeah, because I had always thought, oh, human beings, we're superior. But he was right. you know, the way the mind functions was exactly the same. You're nice to me. I love you. I'll do anything for you. Yeah. You're not nice to me. Not only will I bark, but I will bite. Not literally bite. Yeah. Unless you're a child and, you know, my niece bit my mother once. I don't know how that was about. But, you know, usually we don't bite somebody, but, you know, we attack back. Yeah, somebody insults you, you insult them back. Mm-hmm. So it's, you know, it's very interesting to see how the mind works, but just the object is different. Yeah. So, you know, some people say, is rebirth really possible? You know, how can a human being be reborn as a dog? You know, they're so different, human beings and dogs, from our usual way of looking at things. But then when you look closer, they're not actually that different. And sometimes we have the expression, I don't know in Singapore if you have it, but in the US, if somebody acts really poorly, we say, oh, they act worse than an animal. Have you heard people here say that? You know, somebody acts really poor. Oh, they act worse than an animal. Well, if somebody is acting worse than an animal, then can you see how that person might be born as an animal? If now, when they have a human body, they're acting worse than animals do, couldn't that create the cause to be born as an animal, such that your body matches the mental state you have? Okay, think about it. It makes sense to me. So that's just a little bit by way of introduction. I usually like to start things with taking refuge, generating our bodhicitta motivation. So we'll do that now. Okay. So we're not just saying the words, yeah? When we do chanting of some sort or say any kind of recitation, then we should think, who are we addressing this to? Yeah? So when you say, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, are you addressing this to empty space? No, you're imagining the Buddha surrounded by all the other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and Arhats and lineage masters, all the holy beings. And we're imagining them in our mind's eye and then saying, I take refuge in them, in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. When you can imagine, yeah, the three jewels in the space in front, you don't have to get every, detail. Or if, you know, sometimes it might be easier. You just think of the Buddha sitting in front of you, and then he's surrounded by all the other holy beings. Yeah? And what would it be like to be in the presence of the Buddha and really from your heart say, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Okay? So here we're adding an element to, what the mouth is doing, saying the recitation. We're adding the element of imagining being in the presence of Buddha Shakyamuni and his disciples. And that adds a lot when you take refuge then. there's a much stronger feeling in your mind. There's a much stronger connection with the three jewels. Yeah? And that's what we want to have, is to develop a strong connection. So the way the talks were titled for today and tomorrow. Today was about love and compassion, and tomorrow is about joy and equanimity. And I think that was done because in the way that we just recited the four immeasurables, that was the order they came in: love, compassion first, and joy and equanimity later. But there's another way of ordering them in which equanimity comes first, and then love, compassion, and joy. Okay? So we're going to, we'll start out with the order of love, compassion, joy, equanimity, with equanimity at the end. And then we're going to move into putting equanimity first. Yeah. The difference, why is there two versions of the four immeasurables with two different orders? When we put equanimity at the end, what we're doing is we've wished others to have happiness, be free of suffering, yeah, and have the joy of nirvana, and have equanimity, yeah. So, but in that way, we're wishing others to have equanimity. When we do the four immeasurables, but equanimity is first, we're trying to transform our own mind into equanimity before we generate love, compassion, and joy for others. Okay, and so you'll see how that works as we go on. But in case you've been wondering, some of you may have seen the two different versions, and why, Well, there's a reason. Okay, so I thought in talking about the four immeasurables in the first version with equanimity at the end, that I would read some passages from Buddhaghosa's text, The Path of Purification, which is one of the standard Theravada texts that they study. But what he says is also very applicable to the Mahayana. Yeah? So we shouldn't think of, they do this in Theravada, so Mahayana, I can't do it. Or they do this in Mahayana, Theravada, get me away. No, all these teachings came from the Buddha. And when we understand them properly, we can see that they're not contradictory, and they complement each other very, very well. And so in that way, we don't disparage any of the Buddhist teachings. Yeah, because if we get very sectarian and we like our tradition, my tradition's better, and not just my tradition, but my teacher and my teacher's organization is better, this is what we sentient beings do, just everything, make our own little thing, and whatever is associated with me is better than everybody else. And we want to get over that, because if we have any kind of sectarian view against other Buddhist traditions, we're in fact criticizing the Buddhist teachings, because those traditions and the practices came from the Buddha. So if we say, oh, that tradition, be careful, because the teachings originated with the Buddha. So it's, of course, if somebody's teaching if somebody's pretending to be a Buddhist, but they're teaching that there's a God in the sky, well, they're not teaching Buddhism, they're teaching wrong views. So that you can debate, okay? But otherwise, we should really respect all the Buddhist traditions, all the different practitioners, yeah? And His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, encourages us also to respect people from other religions, even though, if we took some of the beliefs of those other religions and applied reasoning and logic, we could refute what they're saying. Okay, so even if we could do that, still, what those religions are teaching helps the people that believe in them. Why? How? Because all religions, contain some teachings about ethical conduct, not killing, not stealing, not abusing sexuality, not lying. They all caution against intoxicants. They all talk about forgiving people who harm us. They all talk about having love for strangers and compassion, even for the people who harm us. So on that level, of just how to live a good life, which is a very important level of practice, the teachings are very similar. The theology is different. Okay, so if you have religions that believe in a creator God, then the reason they state for caring about all living beings, is because God created everybody. And so, if you're created by God and, your enemy's created by God, how can you hate God's creation? Yeah. Okay, so that's how they would come to have love and compassion for other people. In Buddhism, we don't need the idea of a creator God to encourage people to have love and compassion. We do it by saying, actually, we're all the same, every living being. Yeah, we may look different on the outside, but we all want happiness. We all want to be free of suffering. So if we want that for ourselves, we should definitely want that for everybody. Okay, so we get to that from a different viewpoint than the religions that have a creator God at their center. Yeah, so we can still talk to those people. We can communicate. Yeah, they aren't our enemies. We can still refute their ideas, because many of the things they think, if you apply reasoning and logic to, there's lots of holes in it. And it's hard to, hold on to those beliefs. But, when we just take it for, helping people to live good lives, then we can respect everybody in that way. Okay? That doesn't mean that all religions are saying the same thing. It doesn't mean that all religions are getting to the same point. Yeah, because we have different paths. Yeah, and in some ways, if you take the Four Truths the way the Buddha described them, yeah, dukkha, the cause of dukkha, the cessation of dukkha, the path to the cessation, well, every religion has a way of what they call suffering, and the cause of suffering, the cessation, and the path. Yeah. So everybody has their own version of that. Yeah. We think our version makes more sense, and we have reasoning and logic to prove it. But for the people who believe in other versions, as long as it helps them keep good ethical conduct, have a kind heart, yeah, forgive people, then that's good and that helps them. Okay. But we can't say that the paths are exactly the same. Okay. So, yeah, I heard a story one time about the Dalai Lama was one of my teachers. And there was one British Catholic or Episcopalian priest who he had become very good friends with over the years because they had been at conferences together. And so they were doing some kind of presentation together. And the Catholic priest said, "Oh, all religions lead to the same goal." And His Holiness stopped him, even though they were very good friends, and said, "You know, I don't think we can say that." Yeah, because if you look at what they're saying, you know, there's many similarities, but the path of practice is different. Yeah, so we don't know if they all lead to the same thing, but we can still respect everybody. Okay, and I thought that was very beautiful what he said. It was really clear. Yeah, we have different beliefs, but we can still get along. And that's what's important. Mm-hmm. My degree at university was in history, and one of the major things I learned was that in Europe, every single generation, people were fighting wars in the name of God. Yeah. And all those people believed in God, but because they, you know, one was Catholic and one was Episcopalian and one was Methodist and one was Lutheran and one different branches of Christianity, then our branch is better and, you know, we're going to fight with you people because you're trying to take us over and convert us to your branch of Christianity. So I'm studying European history and I'm going, people are killing each other in the name of God. This doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah. And then what is also doesn't make any sense is when each country, when they're fighting, each one says, God is on my side. Yeah. So there was a big war, you know, between Scotland and England because the Scottish were Catholic and the English were Episcopalian. They used to be Catholic, but then Henry VIII wanted to divorce and marry another wife, so he broke off from Catholicism, started his own branch of Christianity that said divorce was okay. Yeah? So Mary, Queen of Scots, is Catholic. Elizabeth I is her cousin. Elizabeth is in charge of England, is Episcopalian. Mary, Queen of Scots, is Catholic. You know, fighting, you know, until, Elizabeth has her cousin Mary, Queen of Scots, arrested and decapitated. They did the guillotine on her cousin because they had different religions. Of course, you know, Mary had her people behind her, and Elizabeth had her people behind her, and they were pressuring the two of them. But I remember, this was way before I met Buddhism, I said, this doesn't make any sense. Why are people killing each other in the name of religion? If both sides are claiming to be excellent practitioners, and both sides are also breaking the fundamental precepts of their religion, like don't kill. That's the first thing in every religion. Don't kill. And when people are fighting, what are they doing? They're killing each other. And they're saying, my religion is better. Huh? Does this seem as stupid to you as it seems to me? It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So most of my college education, learning history, I can't tell you dates and things like this, but what I learned was very often how stupid human beings are, and how we justify our stupid actions in the name of religion. Yeah. And this is still happening in the modern era. After 9/11, when the World Trade Towers collapsed and, the Pentagon was damaged and so on. Okay, then America sent troops to Afghanistan to fight against the Islamic radicals, Al-Qaeda, okay? So Al-Qaeda says, Allah is on our side. Allah is just another word for God. God is on our side. We're doing this for our religion because we want to worship God as the best way. And what did the Americans do? They had a service in the National Cathedral, and invoked the Christian God and said, God is behind us as we're fighting these horrible people who just, made our business district collapse. So I thought, God's on this side, according to the people. According to Muslims, God's on their side. According to the Christians, God's on their side. This was, in 2001, yeah, 2001. And I thought, God must be really confused. He doesn't know whose side he's on. Yeah, which I don't believe in God anyway, because it doesn't make any sense. But this kind of thing really shows how it doesn't make much sense. Okay, but it helps other people. I respect that. Okay, but it doesn't help other people when they kill in the name of God. There, everybody's just creating suffering for other living beings and creating suffering for themselves. Yeah, because we will experience the results of our own actions in future lives. Okay, so I just, for those of you who don't know me so well, you'll see that I do relate Buddhist values and values in general to the world today, because I think that it gives us a way to look at the world that makes sense and produces peace and harmony. Okay? And I think whatever religion we have, it should apply to the world. It shouldn't be something, up in the air that you just have blind belief for. It should be something that we can use to describe the world around us. Okay, so I bring in world events. Mm-hmm. So Buddhaghosa, like I said, he was from the Theravada tradition, and he lived around the 5th century AD, or CE. Okay, so he's describing. We'll start off with love. Okay, so love has the aspect of friendliness as its characteristic. Its function is to promote friendliness. It is manifested as the disappearance of malice and annoyance. Its proximate cause, in other words, its close cause, is seeing others as lovable. When it succeeds, it eliminates malice. When it fails, it degenerates into selfish, affectionate desire. Okay, let's look at those different things. Okay, so love has the aspect of friendliness. In other words, it should be the way that that the common way in which we relate to all beings, okay? So that whenever we see a sentient being, whether it's human or some other kind of life form, we have an aspect of friendliness. Oh, here's somebody who could be a friend. Here's somebody just like me, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. Okay. Now, some people, because of the way they think, or because of previous karma, or because of events that have happened in this life, their initial way of relating to people isn't one of friendliness. Okay, it's one maybe of suspicion. Oh, I don't know that person. Are they going to help me? Are they going to harm me? Am I going to belong to this group, or am I not going to belong to this group? Are they going to ostracize me? Okay. So sometimes, we have an attitude of love, of friendliness towards others. But sometimes when people look different from us, or they have a different religion, or maybe they are disabled, or maybe who knows what, they're real tall or they're real short, or we can think of any reason we want to, and then we go, oh, I don't know who that person is. Maybe they speak a different language. Oh, we can't communicate. Are they going to help me? Are they going to harm me? But here the practice is to give people a chance at the beginning. Approach living beings with friendliness. So I like to walk in the morning. He and I often walk in the morning. And we were walking around the canal in Geelong. And we meet many people walking their dogs early in the morning and also in the evening. Okay. So, I look at the dogs, and I like dogs in general. In general, I like dogs. And so I approach dogs with a spirit of friendliness. And some of them, there was this very cute little one. His name was Whiskey. Who names their dog Whiskey? But he was very cute. And I would pet him, and he would pet him, and Whiskey would roll around and jump up and down. And when he saw us coming, he would get so excited, And then there were two other dogs, a Skipper and Sunday. Oh, and when they saw us coming, their tails would wag. And that was very nice, So we would stop and pet those dogs, and we saw them frequently when we walked. Then there were some other dogs. I would go up, and I know when you approach dogs, when they don't know you, you don't go to pet them on the top of their head. That frightens them. You hold your hand out with your palm towards them so that they can smell your palm, and you hold your palm lower beneath their nose. Okay. And some dogs, I would do that. There was one dog, big dog. Big, beautiful dog, white dog, And he just looked at me, and he didn't even have to smell my hand, So sentient beings are different, because of karma, because of their aptitude, you know, their inclinations, their dispositions. But, you know, I really saw in relationship to those dogs that if I approach them with an aspect of friendliness, you know, then it opens the door for us to have a good time together. Whereas that other dog, who I would have been perfectly willing to pet and you know, and everything, there was no possibility to be his friend because his instant reaction was, stranger, I don't like, I'm scared. Okay? So people are sometimes like that when we see people who are different than us. Yeah? So it points out that when we just react like that, like, who are they, you know, then we're cutting ourselves off from having a good relationship with them. Yeah? So you might say, well, you know, I'm afraid of dogs, and I think that's good I'm afraid of dogs, because that big dog that you saw that barked at you, he probably would have bit me if I would gone to pet him. So it's good that I'm afraid of dogs. I don't go to pet him. Yeah. Well, I didn't have to be afraid of that dog to not get bitten. You know, I went I couldn't even get my hand close to him so he could smell me because he was barking. But I could see by his behavior, okay, this is not a good time. Yeah. Now, it could be that if I had known his owner and I had gone to their house or something like that, the dog may have related to me differently. Who knows? Okay? But from my side, there was an extension of friendliness. Now, so to see, you know, to observe your own behavior, and when do you have your first, you know, interaction with some living being, with your mind being one of friendliness, and one, you know, do you just kind of, are you scared of meeting different people, you know? Now, it's true that sometimes people who have experienced abuse or trauma when they were little, they react in this way because they had something really awful to them happen when they were little. But they can also begin to train their mind and see, well, not everybody I meet is the one person who abused me. Yeah. So I can approach other people with friendliness. I also can be wise, you know. You trust people until proven differently, okay? Instead of, I don't trust anybody until, you know, I know them for 20 years and they've never done anything I don't like. When is that going to happen? Then you're not going to trust anybody, okay? So to kind of, you know, train our mind to see everybody wants happiness equally. Everybody wants to be free of suffering equally. And if I can relate to everybody from that, in that way, from my side, then I see something very, very important about everybody, and I see some way to connect in that with them. Mm-hmm. So let's use another example. Yeah. How many of you sometimes have to call customer service because what you ordered didn't come, you know, or something, they said your car was supposed to be fixed on Monday. It wasn't fixed on Monday or Tuesday or when, you know, and you have to call the company and say, hey, what's going on? Yeah, everybody had that experience? Okay, now when we are calling the company, we're the customer, they're doing customer service, yeah, and we're usually not very happy, yeah, because I ordered this and I ordered size 5 and you gave me size 15. You know, what's wrong with you? Can't you fulfill the order? Or, oh, the big thing is when you your flight was canceled. You go to the airport. Oh, we decided to cancel the flight. What? You know, I was planning on getting on this flight, and you're telling me you canceled. What's the story? Oh, I want another flight. I got to get to this place today. No. So the person at customer service, they're a stranger, right? We don't know them. But when we call customer service, or you go in your line at the airport to talk to somebody behind the podium, do we approach them with friendliness? No. Yeah. We confuse them with the company as if the company itself were a person and they're that person, and we get mad at that person. They weren't the one that sent the wrong order. They weren't the one that canceled the flight. But we talk to them as if they were. Okay? Is that person, you know, who's doing customer service, are they going to be inclined to help you when the first thing you say to them is, I ordered this and I was supposed to get out of the airport and I have a very important meeting and you canceled the flight and you should have another flight that leaves in 5 minutes that I can get on without any transfers because I have a very important place to get to. Yeah, is that person going to want to help you because you're so kind? Come on. You know, they will try and help because it's their job, but they may not try too hard because of the way we're treating them. Yeah. Whereas if we treated these people, you know, who are doing customer service respectfully, they would act in a very different way. Yeah. And then what we're asking them to help us with, they would help us. Okay, so you see what Buddhaghosa is saying here about love is very true, isn't it? Yeah. It has the aspect of friendliness. Its function is to promote friendliness. So you're friendly towards the customer service person, they're going to be friendly back to you. Okay? It is manifested as the disappearance of malice and annoyance. Yeah? So if I can be kind to them, my malice and my annoyance are gone, and they're not going to be annoyed with me. Whereas if I blame them as if they were personally responsible for what somebody in the warehouse did, yeah, then they're gonna probably have some annoyance with me. I'm not promoting harmony. I'm promoting friction with other living beings. Okay? So its proximate cause is seeing others as lovable. Now this is the key. Okay? They sent me the wrong order. Yeah? Why do I have to see the person at customer service as the enemy. They didn't send me the wrong order. It was somebody in the warehouse. Even if the person in the warehouse answered the phone, yeah, what would I get by being antagonistic to them? I still wouldn't have what I wanted. Yeah, they would be upset. And why should I be upset with them if I can see them as lovable? Now the question comes, how can I see them as lovable? They aren't lovable. They sent me the wrong product. Well, if we look at them as, here's somebody who's just like me. They want happiness. They don't want suffering. We aren't any different. Yeah? They do their job the best way they can. I do my job the best way I can. We're both human beings. We both make mistakes. We both make amends when we make mistakes. Yeah? And that person, you know, when they, the day that they went to work, when they pulled the wrong thing out of the warehouse to send to me, they didn't have any ill intent. Yeah. In fact, they probably had a kind intent. They're doing their job, they're offering service, and they're fulfilling the customer's wishes. Yeah. And I depend on them to get the thing that I ordered. Why should I hate somebody that I depend on? That doesn't make much sense, especially since usually I do receive the thing that I ordered. Okay? Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah? That person, you know, I can see them as lovable in the sense that they are doing their job in society and I benefit from it. In that way, they are kind to me. Yeah? And kindness, you know, when we experience kindness, we automatically want to repay it. We see the other person as lovable. Okay? Now you're going to say, but I'm not in love with them. Yeah. Listen, what they, you know, all the love songs are about, yeah, Romeo and Juliet and, you know, West Side Story, who is it, Maria and Tony, and, you know, oh, I'm going to love you forever, you know? Yeah, that is not the love that Buddha Ghost is talking about. Yeah. When you say, I'm going to love you forever, there's a secret phrase in there that you're not saying. I will love you forever until you do something I don't like. Then I don't love you forever. And we're having a fight and I'm right and you're wrong and you change. Because if you don't change, we're getting a divorce. Yeah? When relationships wind up like that, it shows that there wasn't actual love, what the Buddha means by love. What there was what the Buddha called clinging attachment. Okay? What is attachment? It's a mental factor, yeah, that exaggerates the good qualities of someone or something. And because we've exaggerated the good qualities, or maybe there aren't many good qualities, but we've projected and dreamed up good qualities, then, you know, based on this distortion in our mind of projection or exaggeration, then want to, this person is mine, I want to be close to them, you know, and you get attached. Or if it's to a possession, you know, oh, somebody gave me this clock. This clock is so beautiful. Look at its color. It's beautiful lime green, isn't it? Isn't this the most beautiful clock you've ever seen? And it's my clock. You can't have it. You can't use it. Don't you dare damage it. Yeah. It's just a clock. It's going to break. Why am I so attached to it? Well, it's a clock that my great, 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 great grandmother gave to my great, great grandmother, who gave it to my great grandmother, who gave it to my grandmother, who gave it to my mother, who gave it to me. But they didn't actually have clocks at the time of my great, 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 great grandmother. But never mind. Okay? So I'm projecting something onto this clock, some, you know, sentiment. Not only is it a beautiful color of lime green, but it's a family heirloom. Yeah, it's been passed in the family for generations. I love it. Forever. Yeah. Until somebody accidentally knocks it off the table and it breaks. Then what happens? You broke my family heirloom, that beautiful lime green clock. Is that the biggest problem in the world? That our clock broke? That our family heirloom broke? Is that really an international disaster that requires an emergency response because people's lives are in danger? I don't think so. Why are we getting so angry? Because the more attached we are to something, the more we've projected value, or the more we've exaggerated the value of the beauty, the attractiveness of someone or something, then the more upset we get when it breaks, when a relationship separates, when the person does something we don't like. So attachment and anger are very closely related. One exaggerates the good qualities, the other exaggerates the bad qualities. When we exaggerate, are we seeing things correctly? Hello? Yeah. When we project beauty onto something or somebody, are we seeing them correctly? When we project negative qualities on somebody or something, are we seeing them as they really are? No. We are seeing, our mind is creating a veil, you know, a veil of exaggeration, a veil of projection, and we think it's reality. Okay, so whenever we're attached, I have to have this. Oh, when I travel, everywhere I go in the world, I take my clock with me. It reminds me of home. It reminds me of my grandmother. You know, that's a bit of an exaggeration. You know, it's a clock. It serves a purpose. When it breaks, and it will break, guaranteed, it will break. Or do you think this clock somehow will never break? Do you think there's something that we created, that we own, that will never break. Yeah. Yes, I love you forever. We will never separate. Until fill in the blank. Okay? Because, eventually one or the other person will die. That's reality. Okay? So what I'm getting at in all of this, is we need to be able to identify in our mind what mental factors are operating. When am I exaggerating beauty? When am I exaggerating negativity? When I'm exaggerating beauty, don't cling so much because I'm not seeing the object accurately, or I'm not seeing the other person accurately. Yeah. When I get upset and I'm angry, hold on, because I'm not seeing that person accurately. Yeah. I'm thinking that one thing somebody did 2 minutes ago is their whole value as a human being. It's totally exaggerated. Yeah. So instead of being like an emotional yo-yo, oh, this is so wonderful, I'm so happy. And then the next minute, oh, this happened, oh, I'm suffering. This is when you watch all the romance movies. This is what goes on, isn't it? Yeah. Do you ever see them? They meet and then they forever are in harmony. No, it's like, oh, they fight, they fight. And we're like so engaged in the movie. Oh, look, he said that, she said that. Oh no, who's going to win the argument? It's only a movie. It's not reality. But we get very involved in it anyway. It's so interesting how our mind works, isn't it? But we're not seeing things as they actually are. So if I can calm down a bit and instead see others as lovable. Why are they lovable? Because they're just like me, wanting happiness and not suffering. And because whatever work they do in society or in our family, I benefit from it. So I can treat them with respect and treat them with kindness. Make some sense? Yeah. So our trick is to try and put this into practice. Okay. Nowadays, everybody's talking about mindfulness, right? Yeah. Mindfulness in your corporation, mindfulness in school, mindfulness in the bank. All the businesses want to teach everybody mindfulness, so that their employees will be peaceful and calm and work harder so the corporation makes more money. They won't necessarily up your raise, but the shareholders get the money. Anyway, okay, that kind of mindfulness, it has some value because you're just mindful of what you're doing, yeah, mindful of what's going on, what your thoughts are, which is very good. It gives us a lot of information so that we can get to know ourselves better. But just that kind of mindfulness, what I call secular mindfulness, it doesn't have an ethical component. And to really be beneficial to us, we have to apply ethical conduct, morality. Because otherwise, you practice mindfulness. I'm angry at that person. I am mindful that I am angry. I am mindful that he gave me a dirty look. I am mindful that I want to retaliate. I am mindful that I am insulting him and saying painful words. Is that kind of mindfulness useful? Yeah. What you aren't mindful of is that your mind is not in touch with reality, that you're exaggerating the negative qualities of that person. You're exaggerating the harm. Okay? So we have to have the ethical component that remembers that when we're angry, how we're seeing the object is inaccurate. It's skewed. Yeah. One of my books is called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Because the more I learned Buddhism, the more I became a little bit skeptical of everything I think. Especially when I'm angry, especially when I really, really, really want something and I think it's wonderful. And also, especially when I'm jealous. Oh my goodness, when I'm jealous, my mind is really way out from reality. So just to use mindfulness as the Buddha taught it, with an ethical component and with wisdom. Oh, I'm mindful that that person called me a name. They called me a jerk. Okay? I am mindful that I want to interpret that as an insult, but I'm not going to, because it's only a sound coming from somebody's vocal cords. And just because somebody called me a jerk doesn't mean I'm a jerk. It's just their opinion. Their opinion isn't reality. And you know what? In this situation, I was a jerk. I made a mistake. So he's calling me a jerk. He's right. I don't have to hate myself. I made a mistake. I apologize. But there's no reason for me to get angry if, they call me a name, because if I forgot something, if I made a mistake, then, it doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. It means I made a mistake. It's no big deal. I don't have to get angry at that person. So then, I'm mindful that I want to interpret that person as an enemy who insulted me. But you know what? My wisdom is coming in. I don't really want to interpret them as an enemy. What use is that? If I made a mistake, I need to own it. If I didn't make a mistake, then there's no reason to get upset for them for calling me a name, because I didn't make that mistake. Yeah? But what they need is more information that is more accurate. Yeah. And then right away, you've prevented having a problem with that other person. Okay, you getting what I'm saying here? Yeah. So this is how you apply mindfulness. I'm mindful that this person is just trying to do their job. They're doing the best they can. Yeah. And I give them some space. That's okay. And then, you know, I can still be friendly towards them. And if I'm friendly towards them, then, you know, it bodes well for the future. Then I'm not creating any negative karma out of anger. Okay. In fact, by generating an attitude of friendliness, of love towards another living being, I'm creating virtuous karma. Okay? Okay. So before we continue, I thought we'd pause and you may have questions or comments. So please feel free to raise your hand. Yeah. Don't be shy, because chances are, if you have a question, somebody else, or maybe 2 or 3 other people in the room have the same question. This is actually a good example. You know, why don't we ask questions? Well, I have a question, but I don't want to ask it because other people will think that I'm stupid because I ask a question. Ho, 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 ho. Is that a realistic state of mind? Yeah, I'm not going to ask a question because people will think I'm stupid because I don't already know the answer. Is that a kind mind, kind mental state? Is that a friendly mental state? Is that a loving mental state? No. It's a suspicious mental state that doesn't trust others. It's projecting things onto them. They're going to think I'm stupid. Yeah, you can read somebody else's mind. You know for sure they're going to think you're stupid because you asked a very good question. You know, we so often project things onto other people, you know. Like, yeah, they're going to think I'm stupid. Why? Why? That's actually rather insulting to think somebody else is going to think you're stupid. Because, yeah, think about it. You know, I'm not going to ask a question because you're going to think I'm stupid. Why do I think you're going to think I'm stupid? Because you're stupid. And why would you think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid. Yeah. So I'm really, when I say I'm not asking the question because they'll think I'm stupid, I'm actually thinking they're stupid. I'm the one insulting them. They're not stupid. Yeah. If I ask a question, they might say, oh, good, I had that same question. Thank you.
Hello, Venerable. Morning. Thank you for the talk. I have the question is at the start of the talk you mentioned fear is due to attachment to the body.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, could there be other attachments besides the body?
Yes. Yeah. We're very attached to our reputation. We want to look good in front of other people. Yeah. So before you go to a party, you know, everybody puts on their nice clothes and their jewelry because I want to look good. Why? We're attached to our reputation. We're attached to what other people think about us. Yeah? Why do you want your child to get good grades? Well, you know, one reason is because you want them to have a good future. But another reason is, if my child gets good grades, then I can brag to my friends about how wonderful my child is. Yeah, because we want other people to think I'm a good parent. Why? Because my kid can spell D-O-G. Yeah. Oh, my kid can spell D-O-G. I am a wonderful parent. If that's how you get your self-esteem, good luck. Okay, does that make some sense to you? Okay. So you're burnt out at work and you don't know whether to continue or whether to push through it.
Yes.
Okay, are you asking me about something you're experiencing now?
Maybe, yes.
Maybe, yes. For, personal questions, it's difficult for me, I don't know you, to give an answer that is suitable for your particular situation. I can give a general answer, but you need to see if that applies to your situation or not. Okay? So generally, the way I'll share with you criteria that I use for making a decision. Okay? So first criteria is not the usual criteria of which way will I earn more money. Yeah, that's not the criteria. Yeah. The first criteria is which way will I be able to keep better ethical conduct? Yeah, because from a Buddhist perspective, our ethical conduct is of chief importance, more important than money. Why? Because you can collect a lot of money, but when you die, your money doesn't come with you. But when you die, the karma you create comes with you. Yeah? So I say, okay, I would say in this job, am I creating virtue? Do I have a really good motivation? Well, maybe there's certain things about the job that I don't consider so ethical, so I don't want to do them. Or maybe the job is okay, but right now I'm just exhausted and so I get angry so easily. So that's not good to get angry so easily because I create negative karma. I need to take a break and maybe, resign from my job and then look, get some rest and then look for another job that I like. Yeah?
Hello, wherever. So can you hear me? Actually, I find that for me, it's quite easy for me to be friendly, to be kind to strangers, to colleague, to friend.
Yeah.
For me, I find it's hard for me to be kind and friendliness to my children and my husband. Because I found that I have certain expectation, so more projection in the relationship. So you have any recommendation? Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Excellent question. Who else has what she just raised? Oh, some of you don't have any problems in your marriage? Really? Some of you never lose your temper at your children? How many of you are telling the truth? Okay. Thank you for being honest. Yeah, you're being honest. So it's quite interesting that the people we love the most, your husband, your children, are the people that you're the meanest to and lose your temper at the most. Isn't that interesting? The people we care about the most are the people that we get the most upset with. Now, you said one word that is the key word in your question. You said, maybe I have high expectations of them. That's the word, expectations. okay? Because we, who's the most important person in our life? Ourselves. I am the most important. Okay? So if somebody is close to me, yeah, they must be good because I am good. Anyway, I'm good until I get depressed and then I think I'm awful. But we won't talk about that right now. Usually I think I'm good. And I'm deserving of everything good in the world. Don't you all feel this way? I am deserving of everything good. The world owes it to me, and I expect that. And when we got married, you said you would love me forever. And I expected you to love me forever. And my version of love is not that I'm friendly to you. My version of love is you do everything I want you to do. And you're not doing everything I want you to do right now. And you are my child, and my child needs to be perfect. Yeah, because I know you're only 3 years old, but you have to get into an exclusive kindergarten and an exclusive primary school, and you have to pass your O levels and A levels and Q levels, and you have to be president of the country. No, you have to be have a corner office of the best company in the world, and you have to have tons of money, and you have to say that it's all due to the kindness of your mother. Unrealistic expectations. And you know what? So from if when you get married, yeah, or you fall in love, which is actually meaning you fall in attachment. Yeah. Do you ever say to the person you're going to marry, I expect you to always think that I'm wonderful. I expect you to always tell me how attractive I am. I expect you to always praise me to other people. I expect you to always support me when other people criticize me. I expect you to always remember my birthday and give me a present that I like, not one I don't like. I expect you to always remember our anniversary and send me red roses with no thorns. I expect da 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 da. Did you ever talk to your husband about that? And did he sign a contract to do that? No. Yeah? So it's interesting. We have all these expectations. I expect you to be everything I want you to be. Did you ever check with them that they accept that condition? If they said to you, I expect you to be everything I want you to be, what would you say? Hold on a minute. Don't expect me to be everything you want me to be. Sometimes we have different ideas. Sometimes I'm in a bad mood. Don't expect me to always be perfect. Okay? And that's what they would say to us if we had checked with them about our expectations. So, how do we remedy it? Lower your expectations. Yeah. But if I don't expect my child to get into Harvard, or Yale, no, Harvard is better. I want them to get into Harvard, then they're going to be a failure, because they want to be a musician. They like car motors. They want to be a car mechanic. Oh, how can my child be a car mechanic? They've got to be head of the company that makes the car parts and have a corner office and make a six-figure salary. But you know what? If you forced your child to be that executive, maybe your kid is going to be totally miserable. But they have an aptitude for car mechanics. You know, I don't know about you, I know nothing about car mechanics. I could turn the key and turn on the car. I can do the direct, you know, the click it if you're turning right or left. Something breaks, oh, I don't know what to do. Oh, my kid knows car mechanics. My goodness, brilliant. I think car mechanics are really difficult to learn. They want to be a car mechanic. They know how to do that. They make so many people's lives easier by fixing their cars, by fixing the buses. You know, they work for the city. They fix the buses. They fix the MRT. Wow, they know how to do this. I respect that. I don't care how much money they make, because what they're doing helps other people, and they're happy doing that. And what more could you wish for than a happy kid? Yeah? So you change your expectations. So it is time for another question.
Thank you. I just want to ask a question out of that question, because we are trying to manage our expectations of others. What if I am the one actually that I have a lot of expectations on me, like my husband, my kids, everybody, my family members. So how do I manage it myself?
You lower your expectations. You see what they are. You know, oh, I expect my husband to be everything I want him to be. You know, when I'm happy, he should be happy. When I'm miserable, he should comfort me. He should do everything I want him to be. And then you ask yourself, is that a realistic expectation? What's the answer? No. Isn't.
But what if my husband expects too highly about me and I cannot deliver?
That's his business. And that will come up, you know, when you argue, because he's expecting something of you that you can't deliver. The fact that you can't deliver it is, you know, if it's something you promised to do, then, you know, you need to check up why you promised if you can't deliver. And maybe you need to apologize. But if it's not something you promised, and if, you know, he's expecting something that's unrealistic, his false expectation is his problem, you know, and you need to say, I'm sorry, dear, you have that expectation. I'm not able to fulfill it. I really love you. I care about you, but I don't have that ability. Yeah. Is there another way that you could get that need met?
Thank you so much for the talk and answering questions of other people, which I have a lot of questions from your answers to their questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was from the first question you mentioned about we are also attached to reputation. We care so much about how other people think about us. I would like to know the cause of this. Is it because a lack of confidence, or is it that we see ourselves too lowly?
Well, that's a lack of self-confidence, isn't it? Yeah. So, yes, very much. Because nobody teaches us how to evaluate our own actions. And so we so often leave it to other people to tell us who we are. And our problem is we believe what other people think about us. as if they know us better than we know ourselves, okay? And so if somebody has a bad opinion of me, oh, it must mean that I'm terrible. No, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm terrible. It means maybe that person's in a bad mood. It means maybe they're one of those people who doesn't see people with friendliness, with love, but they have a mind that picks faults. You know, whatever somebody thinks about us is not necessarily who we are. Yeah. So we need to develop the ability to evaluate our own actions. When we see that we've done something ethical and we've done it well, we should be satisfied and happy with ourselves, not arrogant, not go around, I'm so superior because, you know, I did this well. No, it's just you rejoice. I was able to do something well. It helped other living beings. Sometimes we make mistakes. Instead of getting, oh, I'm a catastrophe. How could I have done that? If everybody knows, nobody's going to care about me again because I'm such an awful person. You know, and then you dig yourself into a hole. You sit in that hole, you know, and you take out your lead balloons and have a pity party. Yeah, and you play the music of, I'm so terrible, I'm so awful, nobody loves me because I stink. You know, is that realistic? That's a little bit of an exaggeration too, isn't it? So I need to look. You know, if I did something well, I'm glad it helped somebody. If I made a mistake, I own it. If somebody blames me, you know, and I make amends. If I didn't make the mistake and somebody has wrong information or they're projecting something that's inaccurate, I need to explain to them, you know, what the situation is and, you know, ask them how else they could have that need fulfilled. In other words, I don't need to be like an emotional yo-yo, depending on what other people think about me and say about me. Somebody praises me, ah. The next person comes in and criticizes me, ah. Yeah. Sometimes I do things well, sometimes I don't. Both things.
Thank you. So if let's say we are able to gain, okay, so the cause of attaching to, we care too much about how people talk about us, right? If let's say it is about low self-confidence, and if let's say we are able to build confidence, for example, we do something well and then we celebrate small wins or pat on ourselves, right? In order to build confidence and then build higher self-esteem or value so that we won't be attached to the reputation. Then what is the line between we feel proud and pride in the things we do so that we do try our best and then we
Okay. There's the English word, yeah. The English word pride is a bit tricky because sometimes we feel pride like, oh, I didn't think I could do that and I did it. I feel proud of myself that I did it. That kind of pride is good, fine. You congratulate yourself, I did something well. But sometimes we use the word pride, you know, of so-and-so is very proud. They think they're better than everybody else. In other words, it's arrogance. Yeah. When we are arrogant, we are exaggerating our ability. Yeah. When we just congratulate ourselves, oh, I wasn't sure if I could do that. I did it. It turned out well. I'm pleased with myself. Fine. You don't go around in the world with your nose in the air telling other people how wonderful you are, because you're satisfied just knowing yourself. Arrogance, I think my theory is the people who are arrogant because actually they have low self-esteem. Because when we don't believe in ourselves, we don't have self-confidence, then we tend to go around acting very prestigious, very important, because we think that if we can make other people think that I'm important and good, then if they think that, then, oh yeah, I'm important, I'm good, and good. So in other words, we're giving other people the ability, the power to tell us who we are. That doesn't make much sense. They don't live with us. They don't know our motivations. We have to learn how to, assess ourselves. Okay. And, sometimes, I don't know about you, but when I see people who are proud, I go, yeah, it's like, I don't want to be around people like that. But then I stop and I say, oh, but why are they acting that way? Actually, because deep down, they don't believe in themselves. Because people who have actual self-confidence don't need to brag. They don't need to try and impress somebody. Yeah. One of my teachers said to me, he was just a child at this time. His previous life had been my teacher. That life died, and he was reborn. And he was still quite young. I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years old. And we were talking one day, and he said to me, if I'm a good cook, I don't need to go around and telling people, I am a good cook. I cook this, I cook that, everybody likes my cooking. He said, all I need to do is cook. And if other people like what I cook, then they know I'm a good cook. I don't need to go and brag about it. Yeah. And I thought, that's really true, isn't it? Yeah. Why do we go around and brag and talk about things? Because we don't feel secure inside. Yeah. I saw another incident that really sticks in my mind. Around the time, I think it was 1989 or sometime around there, when the Dalai Lama won the Nobel Peace Prize. You may remember that. So news had just come out that he had won the Nobel Peace Prize. And at that time, he was in the middle of being a panelist in a conference in California in the US. And on this panel, there were many different experts in different fields, and then there was His Holiness. Yeah. And somebody in the audience, there was a huge audience, thousands of people, asked a question, and all the other experts looked at His Holiness and said, please answer the question, because clearly it was something difficult. They didn't want to tackle it. And His Holiness sat there and he looked and he said, I don't know. And the room was silent. The expert of the experts said, he doesn't know. how can the Dalai Lama say, I don't know? He's supposed to know everything. I think that's a little bit of a false expectation. Yeah? And His Holiness, he was fine. He said, I don't know, to an audience of a few thousand people. And then he looked at all the other people on the panel and he said, and what do you think? Oh my God, he not only said, I don't know, but he showed respect to the other panelists because they might know more than he does. But what a teaching that was. And he could say that. Why? Because he had self-confidence. He didn't have to pretend to be somebody he wasn't. He didn't have to pretend to know the answer to a question that he didn't know the answer to. He was just himself. And I thought, oh, wow, I need to remember this. Yeah, this happened many, many years ago, like at least 40 years ago. But I remember it very well. It was a big teaching for me. So this one will be the last question. For the morning, we're coming back in the afternoon. Don't worry. Yeah, you can ask questions then. Because I think some people want to eat lunch. Yeah, your question.
And thank you for picking me to be the last question. Okay, so just a very short question. It's how do we know the feeling that we have for someone is unconditional, genuine love that Buddha preach, or is it kind of attachment kind of love? How do we tell the distinction?
How do you tell the difference between love and attachment? Well, first of all, if you are an ordinary sentient being who is not free from attachment, yeah, then it might be safe to consider the fact that maybe there's some attachment and there's some unconditional love. Maybe they're mixed together. Okay? And then to, okay, if they're mixed together, then we will get along sometimes, and sometimes we will not get along. I am fully prepared for that. Yeah, I'm not going to paint any things of, we're going to live happily ever after, I'm not going to paint that. We'll get along, and there will be difficulties, and I'm prepared for that. Okay? That's kind of the most practical way to view it if you're an ordinary sentient being. If you want to also diminish the number of times that you have disagreements, then you might also lower your expectations. And when you do quarrel with somebody, because maybe you're asking that question, you've never quarreled? You never quarreled with him?
Okay, so I'm just thinking actually as a human, right, whether is it possible for us to have 100% pure unconditional love for another sentient being?
Yeah, I think it is possible, but we have to practice the Buddha's teachings. Yeah, because as ordinary sentient beings, we don't automatically have that. Yeah, the Buddha does that. How did the Buddha get that quality? He trained his own mind. That's why they call it practicing the Dharma, practicing the teachings. It's a thing where we have to train our mind. We can't just say, oh, from now on, I'm going to have unconditional love. We can't tell ourselves what to feel, because we're very much creatures of habit, and most of the time we don't have unconditional love. But we can start to approach that and train our mind. Notice when we're projecting, when we're exaggerating, when our opinion factory is working overtime, and shut down the opinion factory, deal with the situation in a calm way, you know? Okay? And then just remember that person is a sentient being just like you, who wants to be happy and doesn't want to suffer, you know? And that also pertains to people like Putin and Trump. Can you believe it? Yeah. Well, we can talk about cultivating love and compassion for people who we disapprove of, you know, unless some of you think invading another country is okay, you know, do it on Monday morning, fine, yeah. So, okay. So, we're going to dedicate the merit now.